Welcome to Simply Robotics, the podcast, a podcast exploring the animation industry one episode at a time. I'm your host, Monique. You can find me on all social media platforms at Simply Robotics. That is SIMPLYROBOTIX. When listening to the show, use the hashtag Simply Robotics Pod to join in the conversation. Now, this episode had every intentions. I did what I had to do to have it set up so that my remote guest, would be able to join me in the way I had intended. And then life was like, you tried it. And we had to improvise, move to a plan B operation. So forgive me for some of the audio. I know this is a podcast, so audio is very important. So for whatever hiccups you may hear, just forgive me. Know that I did my best. This episode I am really excited about because I don't watch anime. And I have a friend that loves anime. And I said, oh, I think this could make a good intro to anime. Why not have someone that's really passionate about it come on and talk to me about it instead of me fumbling through my little bit of knowledge and understanding and comprehension of some of the many, many, many anime shows that's out there. So with all that being said, let's get into the episode. Hey, so like I said, I have my friend Derek, aka 614, going to be joining me on today's episode. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and where you're from, things like that?
Yes. Hey, listeners. My name is DJ SJ614. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised. Um, let's see. What do I dive into? I'm a content creator overall. Artist at the heart. I'm an actor first and foremost. I also write and slam poetry. I playwright. I direct things. And I'm also a podcaster as well. Yeah.
Can you tell us, because you have a couple things going on, can you tell us about your podcast, plural?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as podcast world concerns me, I run a indie podcast network called the Carbon Dioxide Network. I also have my own podcast with a co-host and a team of like 10 people behind us called the New York Dose. And then I also have a solo podcast that I just launched at the beginning of the year called 614 Things.
I love 614 Things. I love the time
Thank you.
frame because it's just super short, and I found myself listening to it as I'm grocery shopping or walking from one place to
Yes.
another, and it just fits kind of really perfectly in that order.
Oh, I
And
love that.
for the listeners, I think it's something just very intriguing, and it's uh the way that you're doing it is very interesting. It's like a little audio journal, and you are
Yeah.
producing it very well.
Oh, wow.
I
Thank you.
haven't gotten time to tell you this yet, but I'm like, this is a very interesting thing that he's doing here, and I can
Wow.
definitely see it catching on. So keep
I love
doing,
that.
yeah, what you do. I wanted to ask you about your naming convention. Are you going to
Yeah.
be doing it by month? Is that why it's 1 point something?
So, oh, I love that. No, so I am. I'm actually. It's so just season one is going to have the one in front of everything. So the first number is going to be what season I'm on, and then the number behind the decimal is going to be the episode number. So yeah, so like 1.8 will be like season one, episode 8, and blah blah blah.
Gotcha,
Which I
gotcha.
know, yeah, and then I know like when it comes to the New York Dose, when we normally just put like episode like 89, you know.
Yes. Um, Maybe did you tell the listeners a little bit what the New York Dose is?
No, so okay, the New York Dose. The New York Dose is a podcast again, based on two native New Yorkers who are also creatives. It's me, I'm an actor, and my co-host who is a dancer, and we're basically navigating our lives here in the city and bringing in guests and interviewing them about what they do and having conversations that need to be had revolving like our city and our state and also just like the world period and trying to figure out how we can all move forward in a more positive light. So it's a little bit of like the ratchetness of the Breakfast Club with the spiritual guidance of Oprah's Super Soul
Oh my
Conversations.
gosh. What a way to put it. But you know what? I think that's very
That sums it up very well, actually.
Thank you, thank you. Yes.
So,
Um,
previous. Oh, sorry. Do you have more to say?
no, not at all.
Okay. So I'm trying to do better with like not cutting people off, being more
Mhm.
mindful of that.
Oh yeah, go
Um,
off. Come on.
so I mentioned before, and some guests have just about like schooling and getting to where they are now. Did you
Right.
go to school for like acting and performing arts stuff?
Yeah, so I have been in the okay, so it all started third grade elementary school. Because my grades were so good, I was allowed to apply for the drama club that we had there. So in elementary school into junior high school, I was in like all of the drama clubs and doing all of the school shows and things like that. Once I got to high school, I went to performing arts high school, and we had majors. So I double majored in drama and musical theater. And then as I moved on to college, I declared, of course, right off the bat, my major in theater, but I was also in all of like the dance concerts and taking dance classes. I just never declared dance as a minor or anything like that. But yeah, I've been pretty involved with the arts from a very early age.
I also wondered that about you because sometimes you've posted like videos of you, doing dance routines or in like a dance class.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, is dancing like his thing, or did you have like a little bit of a background in it? And it sounds like it's kind of both.
It's a little bit of both. Honestly, I consider myself an actor that can move. I do not consider myself a dancer because I have friends that have like trained in dance and they're like technicians with their bodies, and I will never be that. And I also did not start. I actually had no rhythm in my body until I got to college. Like I never danced growing up. I was very shy about it. My family always made fun of me for it, and yeah, so my dance journey is actually a pretty interesting one.
I hear you. I hear you on that.
Hey.
Next thing, also with uh, myself and with Diverse Tunes, we talk about just having to do a lot of odd jobs. And you also being a New Yorker like myself, I
Oh
know you
yeah.
had to hustle,
Oh
and
yeah.
not every job that you do is maybe in alignment with ultimately with what you're trying to do, you know?
No.
So, can you compare like maybe your first job ever with your first industry job?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I think my first well, no, I know my first job ever was through the Summer Youth Employment Program, which is a program we have in New York City. I don't know if it's anywhere else. But through them at the age of 14, I started working at SUNY Downstate Medical Center, and I was working in the medical records room, just filing my little life away and typing things in on the computer. And if you are a creative that's used to performing, you probably know that that is some type of version of hell for you. But I actually had a pretty good time just like keeping to myself, like just plugging in my little zen back in the day, and doing the work that I needed to do. Flash forward to my first professional industry job. I'm trying to think if if it happened while I was still in high school or while I was still in college. The one that I can really recollect is while I was in college in my junior year. I went to Buffalo State, and Buffalo is a huge theater town. So while I was doing all of my, shows and productions in school, I also got hired by this theater off campus, to be in one of their shows over the summer, and their checks were that pay was just like crazy. And I think that was like one of the first times that I was like, oh wow, yeah, I need to start getting paid for this. Um, and then yeah, and from then on, everything I did outside of school and after school was just always, professionally paid things.
So, how about now? What is like your employment paid life like? As
Now,
much as you want to share.
oh no, 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 for sure, for sure. I mean, okay, it's um okay. So throughout this last decade, because we're all in 2020 right now, so throughout this last like decade and things like that, I have done everything from well, actually after I got out of school, I was working in like retail and things like that. And then I somehow got into nightlife, and I don't know how that happened, but I started like coat checking, and then like ticketing and scanning and like all that stuff. I I've cater waited before. Um, I was dancing. Oh, I forgot about that. I was dancing professionally for a dance company actually, and we danced at bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a very interesting point in time in my life because I was like, it was like only 5 hours, a lot of money, and I was also very physically fit. Maybe at my fittest at that point because it was just like 5 hours of us nonstop dancing for these Jewish people, and it was just amazing. But we would often go like out of state, in state, just all around, and just get the party going nonstop. But right now, I currently work for a LGBTQ youth shelter in the city, and so I do that basically Monday through Fridays. My shifts are normally like 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. And then on the weekends, I work at a nightclub here in the city, and those shifts are normally like 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I'm very much a night owl type of person. I make sure that all my like survival jobs are overnight so that I can pursue my passions and my career during the day.
That's
And
real.
yeah, that's life right now.
That's I was really just about to ask you that. Like, how do you balance those jobs with doing your creative stuff? And
Yeah.
that is very real. He's not joking
Hmm.
when he says he's a night owl. You will wake up in the morning and he has all these like social media posts that have
Oh yeah.
happened during his night.
Yep.
Um,
It is a wild ride.
I would like to thank you for being one of the first few people to express an interest in being on the show and following through with it.
Oh my God.
And
First of all, I really, really love this show. Just as you said that you think that 614 is a cool thing. When you just first started doing this, I was just like, wow, how dope. Like just I don't know, like I had never been um what is the word? Exposed to something of this nature, especially from, like a black creative. And
thank
I
you.
was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, for sure. And I was just like, wow, she is really just like doing her thing. And it's such a powerful platform that I think that you have. And you're opening up some very important discussions and doing some important things not only on the podcast, but like outside of it and in the actual world as well. So yeah.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'm trying. I've said this before. My intention is for this to be like an extension of the stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then with you doing your 614 thing, and this episode is like all about stepping outside of maybe your comfort zone or your norm, right?
Yes.
So Derek sent me this very extensive anime list that I have since shared with a whole bunch of people. I never told you
Yes.
that,
Oh, I
but I
love
was
that.
like, yeah, I'm gonna do like an anime podcast episode. And out of this list, which one should I watch? Because I don't know where to start. And so I did watch one episode of My Hero Academia, right? Academia.
Ooh, yeah.
I really enjoyed just the first episode. And I said, okay, I'm gonna be continuing this because I like magic,
Yes.
and this is like a school premise, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
interested in understanding more about the dynamic of the people in this classroom. And
Oh, you're
I
gonna
guess
have a
the main
fun
character,
time.
yeah, I didn't pick up anyone's name.
It's okay.
I also saw the first episode of Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, nice.
Hakusho.
Mm-hmm.
That also was interesting. I think because it could have a little bit of a magic element to it, and that's right. Right, that's my thing.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. And then I didn't make it far, but I checked out like a couple minutes of Attack on Titan, and
Okay.
that's a little different from the first two.
It's a lot. I think I saw somebody recommend Attack on Titan to you, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a very different."
Yeah, a
But
couple people. I tried to go with majority of the suggestions, and I was like, this is a different vibe from the first two.
it's literally like walking from like Disney World to like a haunted horror. Like,
Yeah, so I will try my best to make it through the first episode, but I know the first two I'm definitely going to continue watching. Um,
yeah.
Also, you had mentioned, which we're going to get into, the Sailor Moon R movie.
Ooh, yeah.
So
Mm.
I have no idea if I've seen the movie. I maybe back in the day, but I know I've probably never seen it again. And just
Okay.
for the listeners, it's actually available for free, the whole thing on YouTube.
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
if you want to watch it, maybe do that quickly sooner than later.
Yes.
Um, so bringing it back, I do want to talk about some of your favorite anime movies, starting with the Sailor Moon. And
Oh.
what I've started doing is allowing the guests to recap their movies. So, to the best of your ability, for those like myself who didn't see it, tell
Uh-huh.
us Sailor Moon R. What was it about?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go back in my memory too because I have not seen this movie in a hot minute. However, let me just start off with the ending. Okay,
Okay.
the ending of Sailor Moon R. This was the iconic. This was the movie where I don't know if like many of you people see images of Sailor Moon, but there's a very iconic image of Sailor Moon where she is in a bridal dress on
Mm-hmm.
top of it's a meteor because it's speeding down to earth. So it's her in a bridal dress on top of a meteor. There's like tears coming out of her eyes and probably like rose petals everywhere. And she's got all her favorite sister homegirls behind her, and they're all just like touching her and like giving her strength. Now that iconic image is from the Sailor Moon R movie. And basically in that movie, um, they all come together to. I think the villain is Queen Beryl. Like I know Queen Beryl is the villain in a lot of these like early Sailor Moon things, and she's basically, which is so funny because I blame Sailor Moon for my huge emphasis on like protecting your energy and things like that here in my adulthood. But Queen Beryl was always trying to find ways to sap people's energy out of them. Like she had all these different plans and devices on how to do that. Um so she devises this plan. Basically, Sailor Moon and her pretty sailor guardians, they interrupt it. Tuxedo Mask is there. Tuxedo Mask is her man, and they basically just like save the world. But it's just like in this feature length film version of a Sailor Moon episode, but it's just like the episodes. Like there's nothing like crazy special that happens to her other than the fact that she transforms into that crazy bridal dress because she obtains the power of something called the Silver Crystal, which
Oh,
becomes really important later on in the Sailor Moon TV series.
why is it your favorite?
Okay, so this movie is my favorite because, to my knowledge, there's only like two from back in the day. There's Sailor Moon R and Sailor Moon S. Sailor Moon S contains some other Sailor Scouts because like stars start becoming Sailor Scouts, or like they discover like Sailor Neptune, Sailor like Uranus, Sailor Pluto, some of the further planets and things like that. But Sailor Moon R contains the original gang as well as I don't know her English name, but I know in Japanese they call her like Chibiusa, which is
Yeah,
like
the little pink
yeah,
one.
like exactly the little pink one, which we later on figure out is actually her daughter from the future and blah blah blah. But I love it because it's the original game and you really kind of see them throw down in this movie. So it's dope.
Okay. So
Yeah.
moving to your next favorite anime movie, you have Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah,
And wait, so have
sorry.
you ever seen it in theaters with the Ghibli festival?
No, not at all. And it sounds like I need to.
You need to get your life because I am one that I remember being a child and it would come on like the Disney Channel or WB or something like that. And I used to like
Mhm.
cry if I couldn't be home in time to see it. Like it was drama. Like witches were
Yeah.
my thing as a kid. And I just
Yes.
loved the everything about Kiki. And if I saw it
Yeah.
on the TV Guide channel, I was like, oh, Kiki's coming on. Like I needed to be home. I needed to be there.
Yep.
So I think it was a couple years ago when I like they first started doing the Ghibli festival, and I saw it in theaters, and I just felt like so at peace. I was like everything
Yes.
is right in the world. Like I've never seen it in this way in a theater, and
Okay.
this is the biggest screen. And I went by myself, and there was an okay amount of people in there, maybe a total of like 20ish or whatever. But
Oh,
definitely later this year because it seems like it's a yearly thing now. Go
I'm down
see,
for that.
yeah, go see some of the stuff that you haven't yet. It's really beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
I'm definitely gonna have to.
so here you go again. How would you summarize Kiki's Delivery Service?
Oh my god, another one that I have not seen it in a while. But basically, from what I remember from Kiki's Delivery Service is it is basically a slice of life anime with a little bit of like of shonen or like magic in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it is about this little young witch girl who is she travels to this other like town or city or something like that, and she starts like living on her own, and trying to she's trying to like get a job for some reason. Like I can't remember what she needs money for. Like I don't know if it's to get back to some place or something like that.
No, it's kind of
um
like it's almost like a like what witches have to do to become a witch. They need to go and like serve, be like a witch in the town and like serve the town. So
okay,
she was
okay.
just getting a job kind of to like get a job, but she could have been doing like any kind of service for someone really.
And she chose to start to do the delivery service thing with that
Yeah.
one woman in town, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. um yeah, and then so then by the end of that movie, she what ends up happening to her actually?
She's like the town's witch. That's just like it. Like it's like a
And
coming
you
of
see,
age for her. So she's like going
yeah,
through
and
all this like struggling to be like a good witch and wondering if like she's even like supposed to be a witch, basically like whole questioning. And she's like what, like 13? Like just questioning her whole life.
yeah,
Um
yeah, and
yeah.
that and that's and I think that's why I really love that movie, because it was actually kind of like my first introduction into like midway like slice of life things, and me learning that like it doesn't always have to be about these super powered up people like saving the world. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Which is why I love this movie, because it seriously is just about this little witch girl trying to grow up and do something good in this foreign town that she doesn't even like really belong to. And by the end, they all just kind of like love her for being who she is. But the journey of that movie and the animation of that movie are like so beautiful for me. Like there's two like animation movies that I can sit down and appreciate the journey of and like really go along that ride each and every time. And one of them is Kiki's Delivery Service, and the other one is Brave Little Toaster. Like those two
Oh my
movies,
gosh.
yeah, those two movies, I can just sit down and be like, all right, I'm about to go on this adventure, and like I'm here for it. So,
Yeah, Brave Little Toaster. That's gonna be in a later episode because I do want to talk about that like little universe that they created for it.
oh
But
my god, yes,
I will never forget the I believe it was the air conditioner.
yeah, that.
He scared me. Why?
Yo, Brave Little Toaster had my mother probably thinking that I was crazy, because I was uh treating appliances with such affection all around the house. I was like, no, this blanket is precious, this vacuum is precious, like everything has life, and
Yeah. The last of your favorite movies list you have here is Pokemon the first movie.
oh yeah.
And I haven't seen it in a long time, but with this list, I was like, this is a solid like anime movie list.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
good.
I
I'm
think
glad.
so. So for those who maybe haven't seen it, which how could you? Do you want to tell them a
Right.
little bit about what this movie was about?
Okay, so Pokemon, the first movie, again, just going into my little brain log here, which is very inefficient. But Pokemon, the Pokemon movie was about them kind of like discovering like Mewtwo, right? Like in the Pokemon series, didn't they finally get to like 151 or something like that, and then like one of the last or the strongest iterations of these Pokemon, I believe was either Mew or Mewtwo. It was like it was one of the two.
Yeah, well,
I
Mewtwo is like man-made Pokemon.
Right,
Yeah.
he's a synthesized copy of
Mhm.
Mew. And I remember in this movie them ending up on this island where there was like a whole bunch of synthesized Pokemon. Like there were like two Pikachu's and two of just like all the Pokemon for some reason, and like half of them were real and like half of them were fake. Um, and that's really where my my memory stops with it, to be
Okay,
completely honest.
that's fair because
Um,
I also haven't seen it in a really long time. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's just about, and I saw it in theaters too, actually, when it came out.
Me too. Yeah,
Um,
me too.
I remember being completely present in the moment, when
Right.
Ash was down and like Pikachu's over him and like crying and doing Pika
Oh
Pika
yeah.
and with
Oh
tear.
yes.
I was like, I cannot handle this.
That was
um, go ahead. Yeah.
that yeah. No, I think that movie was the first um time I cried watching an anime film. Because just like you were saying, there's this one scene in the movie where there's two Pikachus. I think Ash like just turns to stone for some reason,
Yes.
and the two Pikachus are both just like slapping each other like back and forth because all of the Pokemon, all of like the twin Pokemon broke out into this like huge brawl, and the two Pikachu's were just like very tired, but they just like kept slapping each other back and forth, and it was like Pika slap, Pika slap, and they were just going back and
Yes.
forth, and I was just like, and that just made me so sad. I was like, oh my god, this is just so
Yes.
just heartbreaking, like. Oh yeah, so tears rolled up in the eyes.
And as we're talking about this, did you see Detective Pikachu?
Oh yeah, I saw Detective. Let me tell you something. I saw Detective. I saw Detective Pikachu 4 times.
What?
Okay, I saw Lion King once, and I wish it would have been Detective Pikachu for a fifth time instead. And I'm gonna just leave that there.
That's
But
real. I get it. I understand. Um,
yeah,
you saw it 4 times
thoroughly.
in theater?
I saw it 4 times in theaters. That's a little secret that I kept to myself.
I think that's very impressive. But I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed Detective Pikachu.
Me
Um,
too.
I thought it was a little bit all over the place, just a little bit, but I
It
liked
was
how it all ended up happening. I was just like,
yes,
y'all
yeah,
came together. I'm not mad that I'm here.
yes,
I
yes.
did like the integration with the Pokemon in the real world, but they just
Um,
I was like, when are y'all gonna start like tying up the ends of the story? Y'all still got a lot of stuff that's just out here unexplained, you know?
very no, very true. Yeah, they. I feel like they did like a large like over glance of the Pokemon world and what that would look like. If Pokemon were really in like our world. It was it was like skated over like some things like that. But it was very beautiful nonetheless. The plot had a lot of holes in it, and I feel like they were banking on people to know the plot from the game Detective Pikachu.
Oh, see,
But
I didn't
that
even know that was a game.
yeah, it's an actual like video game on
Oh,
those little devices. So I feel like that's what they were like kind of banking on, but you have people like me, like I didn't play that game, but I know that there's a game, but I didn't play it. So you have us,
yes, yes.
and then you probably have those hardcore fans that really knew everything that was like going on. But yeah, it was a fun movie. It was so
Yeah.
much fun. It was very loony. Once you like got into the style of acting that they were going with, I feel like it was very easy to digest. But yeah.
So I just mentioned it because you were talking about the two Pikachus hitting each other. And then that
Hmm.
just reminded me, I believe, ultimately what brings Ash back to life from Stone is just that, like, Pikachu is basically sacrificing himself. And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's like the same thing like Detective Pikachu. With like that Pikachu
Yep.
sacrificed himself for like the dad guy thing.
Yeah. These
So
Pikachu's just love dying.
so we're gonna move on to your favorite TV shows now.
And
I'm only familiar with one of them. Well, I've heard
okay.
about the other two, so we'll start off with just One Piece. And can you just give maybe a little backstory on what this show is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So One Piece is about this pirate. So the whole show is about pirates. It's like they call it the pirate era. That's the time period that's happening in this show. Most of the world is like covered in water and islands and things like that. So it's about this boy named Luffy who wants to become the world's he wants to become the king of the pirates. And you become king of the pirates by finding One Piece. Now, One Piece is the treasure that was left behind by the last king of pirates named Gold Roger. Gold D. Roger was like the last pirate king. However, he was like assassinated. And before he was assassinated, he basically like shouted out, like I hid my treasure at the end of the Grand Line. And that is what launched the entire world into the pirate era because everybody wanted to become a pirate and find Gold Roger's treasure, One Piece. So Luffy is a child when that happens, but he like remembers that event in history, and then he grows up and he assembles his own team of pirates, and they literally sail like the Grand Line, and they travel from island to island, um, getting like clues and more party members to go and find this treasure and become the strongest pirate crew around. Is
Wow, I've been
my
hearing about
synopsis.
One Piece for probably like 10 years and
Yeah,
had
that's
no
accurate.
idea any of this. I was just seeing like the cosplaying and like people dressing up at Halloween. I'm like, oh yeah, that's from One Piece. But like, ask me what One Piece is
Yeah.
about. I have no idea. I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. Do you have like a
Yeah.
favorite moment so far without maybe spoiler alerts or anything from the show?
Ooh, for sure. It's definitely a large spoiler.
Oh, okay. So maybe
Yeah,
do you have a favorite character instead?
okay, yeah, I do have a favorite character. Her name is Nami. I love Nami. Okay, so in One Piece, people have powers, and the powers are given to them by them eating something called a devil fruit. So they're called devil fruit users, and there's different types of devil fruit users. The main character Luffy, he turns into they call him a rubber man because when he ate the devil fruit called I think it's called like the gummy gum fruit or the gum gum fruit, it turned all of his body into rubber. So you have like those types, you have elemental types, you have people that can transform into different like things. This a whole bunch of things. However, Nami is kind of like that bit of comic. She's one of the bits of comic relief on the show because she ends up joining Luffy's crew. And she's crazy greedy about the money in their world, which is called Belly. But anytime there's any type of like thing going on with her, it's because she wants more belly. And she actually used to originate as a thief. And she has no power, so she's not a devil fruit user. However, she uses this thing that somebody invented for her. It's like this baton that contains the weather inside of it, if that makes sense. Like she's able to like call forth like lightning strikes and different like clouds and things like that. She's able to like change temperatures, but it's all based on like the science of the baton that she's using. And I just love that because she could have easily. She started off kind of as this like female character that they made like kind of weak, but as you said, One Piece has been out for like over 10 years now, so you can tell that like as the times change, um, with female characters in anime, they also like increase her power levels like a lot. And whenever I'm like watching anime or playing video games, I'm always like for the female characters. Like I just love that like femme fatale type.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, so she's definitely my favorite because like she can definitely like kick some ass.
Okay, so this one I've never heard of, which was, I believe, Fairy Tale.
Ooh, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah, what is that about?
okay, fairy tale. Now, fairy tale is about. See, it's kind of interesting because it's told from the perspective of this female character named Lucy. Now, Lucy is this princess that ends up leaving home, and she wants to be a wizard. Her mother was a celestial wizard, which means that like she was able to call upon the signs of the zodiac to come and help her fight. So
Oh,
her daughter, yeah, so it's really cool. So her daughter wants to become a celestial wizard as well, and she wants to kind of like live a little bit rough and join a wizard guild. So that's what she does, and she basically like something happened to her mother, so she writes these letters to her mother. So at the beginning and the ends of some of these episodes, you'll hear her narration like, "Hey, mom, this is what happened to us today." So even though it's told from her perspective, the main character of that show is really much like Luffy, this superpowered boy named Natsu. Now Natsu is he's a drag. I forgot what they call him specifically, but he's like a fire dragon wizard. And he's just really strong. He's the one that always saves the day, and he's in Lucy, or Lucy is in his immediate party. So now in this world of fairy tale, there's something called wizard guilds. So there's like different countries and continents and different towns and things like that. And basically each town and city has their own wizard guild that protects that town and city from dark wizard guilds and things like that, or like the forces of evil that might come. So the wizard guild that Natsu and Lucy are in is called Fairy Tale. And that just has like its own whole history and origin behind it and blah blah blah. But it is a very, very, very good show that I've been watching for a very long time as well. And they're calling it a Fairy Tale the final series.
Oh,
I'm not sure if it ended yet because I'm watching a lot of different shows at the same time because I like to give my important animes like that time to build up episodes. So I haven't checked back in on that one in a couple of months, but they are on the final like iteration of it, and I'm kind of sad, but it's been a beautiful show and it's been a beautiful ride, so it's alright.
see, that's why I like having the guests talk about their shows because you can hear the passion for the stuff, you
Yes.
know? And this sounds more my speed than Attack on Titan.
Oh,
Um,
this is definitely not like it's so funny because I remember that you and my co-host Adeloso kind of have the same thing when it comes to like scary things and like just like fun animated things.
yeah.
So yeah, Attack on Titan not so much for you because I'm gonna tell you, even myself watching it, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I can watch this." But Fairy Tale, the animation style and the content of it is definitely right up your alley, so you should
Okay.
give that a try.
May I ask, where do you watch Fairy Tale? Or is
Yeah,
it like
so
on the low?
no. Oh my god, I'm
Okay.
never precious with my things. Um, so for literally like up until 2019, no, up until the beginning of 2019, I always watch my anime on a site called on a site called animefreak.tv.
Uh-huh.
It has no commercials or anything like that. It's really good. You just type in whatever you want and you find it. The problem might like for some. All right, so in anime, you have your dubbed and your sub.
Yes.
That site has both of those things, but I'm just guessing that for the people that watch their animes dubbed, you probably a lot of the time don't know the Japanese titles for those animes, and on that site you will find the Japanese title quicker than you find the English title for
Got
it, if the
it.
English title is even there. So you might have to do like a Google search, like type in the English title to have them converted to Japanese, and then find it on Anime Freak. Trust me, I've done this before. but but yeah, so that's where I was watching it up until 2019, and then because I'm with AT&T, I got a free subscription to VRV, which is another anime site. But yeah, that came with a free subscription. So
Oh,
now I just
nice.
use VR. Yeah, now I just use VRV all the time, which is kind of cute. But I think you can use VRV without a subscription. Also, you're just gonna encounter commercials.
Lots of commercials.
Lots of commercials.
I
Yeah.
heard right now like Hulu has like expanded their anime catalog. So
Oh, okay.
I was watching it on Hulu, and I'm also familiar with Crunchyroll, but I haven't tried
Yes.
there yet.
Crunchyroll also has commercials. I hate commercials.
I hear you.
Um,
I
yeah.
hear you. I'm
So,
gonna
but
play this
but it's
back,
cool. Other than that,
take my notes. Um, just
yes.
getting to your last show, which I just also thought was interesting because of the classification. You
Hmm.
mentioned X-Men Evolution.
Yeah. Okay. It's so funny. I love hearing these back because I do not remember um putting any of these in. So
Oh,
I just
okay.
love.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
mentioned
Yeah.
X-Men Evolution. This is the one like I was a faithful like watcher
Yes.
to the point where
Yes.
like when this was out, I had to go to it wasn't Sunday school. We went, I believe, on Saturdays, which completely got in the way of my Saturday morning cartoons, having to go to
Completely.
to Saturday school, essentially Sunday school.
Right.
And like because I was late in doing my confirmation because of whatever reasons. I didn't go to Catholic
Ah.
school. So here I am, like
Hmm.
15, the oldest one in the group. Like I just want to watch like my Saturday cartoons, like X-Men Evolution, And like back in
Yes.
my day, what I had to do was like set
Okay.
that VCR so I could watch it when
Oh
I
my
came back.
god.
And so I was so about X-Men Evolution. Like I wanted to be there. I wanted to go to their school. Like I had this
Yes.
like insane crush on Spike. Like I thought he was so cool.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yo, Spike.
Yeah, I was like, I need like Spike is it. Like I just don't know. I haven't met him in real
Spike is.
life. Um, and that's what, and I wanted to be Kitty because I thought that was just so convenient, being able to go through walls and not having to
Oh
do
yes.
so much walking.
They made Kitty's powers so cool on that show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about the show because we already stand it, but like for people that
We
don't know.
do. Okay, so again, haven't seen this one in a while, but from what I can remember, X-Men Evolution basically continues um no, not necessarily continues, but it kind of goes back and rewrites like the X-Men origins of the classic X-Men cartoon that used to come on Fox 5 or whatever
Yeah.
that network was back then. So in that iteration, a lot of the characters were kind of like older and things like that. In X-Men Evolution, it focused on a majority of them actually being like high school age. Of course, you had, Storm was still a little bit older, but not as old as she was in the like original X Men. But definitely Storm and Professor X,
And Wolverine
um,
too.
and Wolverine, of course, always, and I think Beast were like the older ones, but you had like Jean Grey was like just discovering her powers on that show.
Yes.
Cyclops was young.
He was getting trying to get
Kitty,
control of his powers too.
yeah.
Sometimes,
So
yeah.
yeah. So as we recall this together, it seems as if that show really took it back to them just diving into their abilities and like discovering it.
Yeah, actually not yes, because we're doing this together.
Yeah.
That is where people went when they were just first like got their mutant powers. And it was the whole thing.
Yep.
Like it was like a boarding school almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Professor X was like helping them as well as like the more senior mutants like getting
We're going out
acclimated.
on the missions.
Yeah. Cause I remember like
Yep.
Nightcrawler was like he was dealing with his popping up all over the place, stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
I
And then
remember.
wasn't there that episode too where like Mystique they did the whole Mystique being his like mom or something like that?
Yeah, which I thought was also really cool because they were actually doing a lot of like the comic book iterations of things. So yeah, they did that whole storyline with like Mystique, Rogue, and Nightcrawler, where
Oh
Rogue
yes.
and Nightcrawler found out that they were brother and sister, and that Mystique was the mother. Yeah, it was like very raunchy. Um, uh, I think I remember. I feel like I remember them having like Scarlet Witch on that show at one point.
Yes, they did.
The Brotherhood was super important on that show. Um, yeah, they just did really well with bringing in a lot of like characters that had not gotten a particular light between that show and then the original classic X-Men show.
Yeah, it was just perfect. Like I think that show along with like Batman Beyond just really did
Yeah,
very well at what they were trying to do. It just was perfect.
yeah,
Like
it really was.
I would love
Oh my
I
god!
need
And
to
then
go back and watch those things.
no, me too. I would love to. And then like aesthetically, like their costumes were super fly in
Mhm.
X-Men Evolution. Like love that.
Yeah, I wanted to be Rogue
Uh,
very badly.
yeah. Oh my god, Rogue. Yeah, Rogue was doing her thing on that show.
Um
Um,
I think this is just a sidebar. Did you ever see the Vixen animated series that came out a couple years ago?
Vixen.
Yes. It's
No.
yeah, so you can find it on the internet. I think I was watching it
Okay.
on what is it called now? Are they the CW?
Oh
Um
yeah. Yeah, I think
I
so.
could have watched it via their app or whatever, but stylistically it's let's say pays homage to the X-Men Evolution, Batman Beyond to a certain extent. And
Oh.
I guess you can say it flopped, but it did have some potential and I did want to see more from it because
Okay.
I don't know too much about Vixen. I think there was maybe 6 episodes, so you can really just watch it in one night.
Fly through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they're like 30 minutes or maybe more like 21 or something.
Oh wow.
But I think being that you liked those type of shows, Vixen, it was
Oh yeah.
promising. So
Okay.
we have a couple more segments to go through, but they're quick.
Alright.
Um, of this game, you may be familiar. We played on my previous show called One's Gotta Go. This is an
Yes.
animation edition.
Oh
So
god.
the first one is from Kiki's Delivery Service. One's Gotta
Oh.
Go from Kiki, Gigi, her cat, Tombo, which was
Mm-hmm.
a local boy that had a crush on her, and
Right.
Osano was the woman who owned the bakery shop.
Oh, okay. I'm definitely so the cat has to stay for just a lot of obvious personal reasons. And that woman from the grocery store really looked out for her, like overall, like in the end.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna say that boy has to go because she was like what, 12, 13. There'll be more.
Okay. Next from Sailor Moon are I have a
Mm,
Sailor Moon,
okay,
Luna, Artemis,
okay,
and Tuxedo
okay.
Mask.
All right. So Artemis, again, for obvious reasons, cannot go. It's literally the name of my car and was the name of my cat. Artemis has to stay. The Let me see. We also had Luna, Serena, and then who else? Oh, okay. Tuxedo Mask has to stay because for the longest period of time in my life, I wanted my name to be Darian, which was his name.
Yes,
Um,
I could see
I
you as a Darian.
thank you so much. I like literally like I don't know what I used to write it down on, but I used to write that name down and pretend that it was mine and on some like early forms of social media or something like that. But yeah, so he has to stay.
Dang, so you putting it between Serena and Luna?
Yeah, and here's why. Okay, because at the end of the day, Serena is so annoying.
Yes,
Like
yes.
she is such an annoying like just like character. And Luna was such a bitch on that show. If I recall correctly, Luna was she was a little sassy cat. Of course she was just looking out for Serena and I would probably also be sassy if I had to look over somebody with that personality who was that irresponsible.
True.
Um okay, so with that being said, yeah, I would probably but you see then without Serena there would be none of the other Sailor Scouts. Um
Well, let's
so
say
I'm
maybe they
gonna
can still exist. I don't know. This is whatever you want.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm like poofing them out of existence.
Maybe they can still be around, but like
Okay.
Serena just gotta go.
th- Okay, all right. Well, then I'm going to say, let me think about it. Let me see. Who can I tolerate more? I'm going to say Serena would probably have to go then.
Yeah, I realized,
Yeah.
and when I went back to start watching the show, because Crystal came out like a couple years ago too, and
Yes.
I was
Crystal was
watching it.
phenomenal.
I didn't finish because I was like, oh, I didn't remember her being so annoying. Like as a kid, I guess it was fine, but I'm like, oh, she's got to stop this.
Yes, 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 yes. I
Couldn't
think
take
because
it.
like as a kid, you're also probably as annoying as she is, but then
Yeah.
like going back, you're like, oh girl, if you don't stop this whining, if you don't get up on time, if it's like,
Yes.
yeah,
So I had a part two, which was so let's say you got an invitation to be a Sailor Scout, right?
hey,
Right? But in order to actually, be one, someone had to get kicked out first.
oh,
Who
okay.
who's getting kicked out so that you could be a Sailor Scout?
I'm definitely gonna say Sailor Saturn. Um, Sailor Saturn for me, honestly, just kind of stepped into the spotlight of Sailor Moon. In every iteration of this show that they introduce her in, it's kind of just like they're like two of the same people, but they gave Sailor Saturn more of this kind of like pop star ish type normal lifestyle to kind of separate her from Serena.
Yeah.
But when you put them side by side, it's like, okay, Serena is popular amongst the people that know her real identity because she's a freaking princess of the moon. But then you have Sailor Saturn, who is popular outside of her Sailor Scout identity because she's a super sensation pop star. So they both have these like adoring fans. They're both like super important in the world. They both have the same color hair, which the hair color was a thing that always separated the Sailor Scouts, but they have like the same color hair.
Yeah.
It's just that Serena's in pigtails and Saturn is not, so I feel like they could easily switch identities, which they did at one point. I think in Sailor Crystal
I
and in
remember.
the original one, also, yeah, they had Sailor Saturn pretending that she was actually Sailor Moon in order to protect Sailor Moon. I just feel like she don't need to be there. Sorry.
She can get the boot. You can,
She can get the boot.
be there.
Yeah.
So Pokemon, the first movie, I have Bulbasaur, Charizard, and Squirtle. One's gotta go.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna say Charizard has to go. I'm a grass type, so I always choose the grass types, and I love Bulbasaur. Second to that, I'm a water type, so I love Turtle. I don't have a problem with fire types, but Charizard just had a nasty ass attitude. While
I
he
should
was
have
with
said
Ash.
Charmander because I just pulled Charizard, but it would be, isn't his name the Charmander's the first one?
Yeah, Charmander is the first
Oh yeah,
one.
Charmander,
Okay,
not
Charmander's
Charizard.
cute.
Yeah, he's very
Yeah,
cute.
Charizard had a nasty ass attitude. I don't know where he got that from, but he needed to be spanked.
Yeah,
Charmander. Okay, that
Charmander.
makes this a little bit harder. Um, ooh, you know what? Just because I know what he's gonna become,
Okay, he still gotta go.
he still has to
If
go.
you mess
And also,
around and
I never
evolve, you gotta go.
right, and I also never just like understood how they handled his tail always being on fire. Like I just could not be down with an open flame all the time. Just saying.
Yeah, Charmander is insanely cute.
He is.
I was looking at AirPod cases and I was so tempted. I was like, this is the cutest Charmander I've ever seen. But my loyalty is to Squirtle. And I
Yes.
ended up getting a Snoopy one because I was confused. But um the Detective Pikachu movie made me really like Bulbasaur because I never really cared for him or it before. It was
Oh
so
wow.
cute in the movie,
It
and I
was
was
so
like,
cute.
"What's wrong with me all these
What happened?
years?"
I feel like that movie also, for me, finally let me know what type of animal Bulbasaur is based on because I never got it. Like I knew that like he's a plant, but these Pokemon are also animals half of the time.
Yes.
And it wasn't until it was like a Venusaur that they were like hopping like frogs that I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Still winding down. We just got two more questions. First question is, which character are you most like, or if there is like maybe like two or three characters would make up you?
Ooh. Okay. Is this in?
It
Do
doesn't
you
have
have
to be
options for
anime.
me?
No, it doesn't have to be anime. It could be any animated character or characters.
Okay. Ooh, gosh, which character am I most like? Um, I guess just to keep in the vein of what we've had going on so far, um, from the Sailor Moon universe, I'm going to say that I am most like I'm gonna say I'm most like Uranus,
Okay.
just because of that character's sexual fluidity, which they outright uh emphasize in the Crystal version. I don't know if you ever got up to that,
No.
but they basically outright like when that character is not a Sailor Scout, it's a man, and when he transforms into a female. So I thought that was just a super cool. But because like Sailor Uranus is like super intelligent, um, super androgynous, super just like cool, and yeah, I feel like I'm a tenth of all of those things. Um, so yeah, that's that.
Next question is using animated characters. You don't have to stay with anime.
Hmm.
Cast your biopic up to 5 characters or people.
Ooh. Okay. So this means like who would play me and then like the people around me?
Yes.
Okay. And this is not based on their powers or anything. This might be based on like what they look like and stuff.
You can elaborate if you want to.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna say for sure, definitely, um, uh, Spike from X Men Evolution will play me. It's just it matches up too perfectly.
Okay. Okay.
um, let me see. Storm or Aurora or Storm would definitely play. She would like play like my grandmother. Um, let me see. Who would play? I don't know. This is hard. There's just so many. Um, it's funny because like when I'm watching each of these shows individually, I'm like, oh, you know what? There's this one anime called Hunter x Hunter,
I've heard of that.
and yeah, that's also a really really good one. It does get into this really dark arc, which you might not be able to tolerate, but yeah, I was like having like nightmares about that arc.
Ooh.
But it is very cool. But when I was watching that show actually reminded me of my high school friend group. Because there's this one arc where like the four main boys they all travel around together, and the dynamics between them and their personalities represented directly like me and my four male friends back in high school at that time. So I'll just leave that there.
Nice. Well, you can cast more people if you want, but that sounds like a lot of people if you just with your
Yeah,
friend
yeah,
group.
yeah, you know me, girl. It's a lot of people being
Yeah.
this film.
Well, thank you for being my guest. This wraps up the episode. Uh,
Oh, thank
I know,
you for having
of
me.
course. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you on social media and plug your podcast or any other things you want to plug?
Yes. So you can find me, and probably just like all of my endeavors that I post at DJSJ614, on all platforms. If you want to listen to my podcast that I co-host, that is at the New York Dose. That's DOSE. And if you want to listen to my little personal, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing journal, then that is 614 things on podcast platforms.
Nice. Again, thank you. Thank you for getting me out of my comfort zone and actually exploring
Oh,
something a little different. And I'm definitely gonna check
yes.
out Fairy Tale and
Yes, please do. And
and
keep me updated on how
yeah,
you like that.
I will. I will. I'm gonna but check this out. New year, getting into anime a little bit. Got
Come
some
on
things going
now.
on. All right. Well, bye guys.
Bye.
Yes, so I would like to thank Derek, aka DJSJ614, one more time for joining me on this episode. Remember to use the hashtag SimplyRoboticsPod to join in on the conversation. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Simply Robotics, SimplyRobotix, and you can check out my website, simplyrobotics.com, to just find out, learn everything that I have going on in that regard. Subscribe to my newsletter. They're monthly, they're recaps, and they have some bonus things that I haven't really been sharing on social media that loudly or often. And lastly, everybody, I'm just wishing you all the best. I know that we are in some hard and trying and very different times at the moment. And I'm hoping that you guys are, if you're able to work from home, that you are making the most of that. Also, if you are home and maybe this is the first time in a long time that you've been able to rest, I hope that you're able to do so. And then also hope that you guys are taking advantage of the time, if possible, to be creative, to clean, to reach out to people that maybe you haven't spoken to in a while. I myself have been calling friends, like verbally, like actually calling on the phone. We've been sending voice notes because if you're working from home, so much of that social interaction is missing. So if you're doing voice conferences, I recorded an episode yesterday with a friend, so that'll be coming out in a couple weeks, what have you. And we're just gonna have to do our best, but stay healthy. Try your best to remain positive, and thank you for listening to this episode. Bye.